Call this regular city council meeting to order. The invocation by Pastor Leanne Jones. Our Father in heaven, we come to you with thankful hearts. We are thankful for your goodness and mercy that follows us all the days of our lives. We are thankful for all the good gifts that you have given us today, but most of all, we are thankful for your love that lasts forever. Merciful God, we ask your blessings on all the frontline workers in this community during this time of crisis. Thank you for your willingness to put others' safety above their own. We ask for your protection over them. We are thankful for the men and women in this room who have taken responsibility of leadership. We ask that you give them wisdom, guidance, and courage as they make decisions which affect many people. May your will be done. We are thankful for the citizens of Taylorville. We ask that you would help us to remember we need each other and we need to treat others the way we want to be treated always, not just during the COVID crisis. Thank you for all you've done and will do. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Megan Bryant.
Here.
Larry Bud.
Here.
John Berto.
Here.
Ernie Dorchenez.
Here.
Kathy Driscoll. Leland Zadi.
Here.
Jim Olive.
Here.
Chris Teddy.
Here.
All aldermen are present. Motion to approve the omnibus vote
So moved.
designation. Motion by Alderman Dorchenez, second by Alderman Driscoll. Roll call.
Larry Bud.
Yes.
John Berto.
Yes.
Ernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Kathy Driscoll.
Yes.
Leland Zadi.
Yes.
Jim
Yes.
Olive. Chris Teddy.
Yes.
Megan Bryant.
Yes.
Motion carries 8-0. Minutes of the regular meeting held May 4, 2020. Minutes of the Emergency Services Committee meeting held May 7, 2020. Minutes of the Water and Environmental Committee meeting held May 14, 2020. And minutes of the Lake and Airport Committee meeting held May 14, 2020. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion by Alderman Skoltedi, second by Alderman Bertle. Roll call.
John Berto.
Yes.
Ernie
Yes.
Dorchenez. Kathy Driscoll.
Yes.
Leland Zadi.
Yes.
Jim Olive.
Yes.
Chris Teddy.
Yes.
Megan Bryant.
Yes.
Larry Bud.
Yes.
Motion carries 8-0. Ordinance. An ordinance authorizing the extension and maintenance of the city's water mains to a specified area outside the city's corporate limits. 1600 East Road Extension, Davis property. Motion by Alderman Bud, second by Alderman Dorchenez. Questions or comments?
Mayor votes on this.
Roll call.
Ernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Kathy Driscoll.
Yes.
Leland Zadi.
Yes.
Jim Olive.
Yes.
Chris Teddy.
Yes.
Megan Bryant.
Yes.
Larry Bud.
Yes.
John Bertle.
Yes.
Mayor Barry.
Yes, motion carries 9-0. Ordinance, an ordinance rescinding ordinance number 3954, the burning of leaves, vegetation, weeds, grass clippings, and tree limbs.
So moved.
Motion by Alderman Driscoll,
Second.
second by Alderman Bertle. Roll call.
Kathy Driscoll.
Yes.
Leland Zadi.
Yes.
Jim Olive.
Yes.
Chris Teddy.
Yes.
Megan Bryant.
Yes.
Larry Bud.
No.
John Bertle.
Yes.
Ernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Mayor Barry votes no. Motion carries 7-2. Resolution, Inter-Governmental Agreement with IEMA. Need a motion? Motion by Alderman Bud, second.
Second.
By Alderman Bryant. Questions or comments? Roll call.
Leland Zadi.
Yes.
Jim Olive.
Yes.
Chris Teddy.
Yes.
Megan Bryant.
Yes.
Larry Bud.
Yes.
John Bertle.
Yes.
Ernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Kathy Driscoll.
Yes.
Motion carries 8-0. Motion to approve the use of 2% utility tax ward money to hire 11 summer help at a rate of $10 per hour, 40 hours per week for 10 weeks for a total cost of $4,400, with a cost to each ward of $7,200, and remainder to be paid by the water fund. Motion, Alderman Bryant, second.
Quick comment.
Alderman Driscoll, comment.
I wanted to ask first what happened to the motion to freeze ward spending? Is this not?
Well, we have to approve it by council. If we're
So
gonna use-
each individual item that comes up, we'll be having to approve them?
Right, the council has to approve any money spent out of ward money.
Okay,
You
then,
said before it used to be,
Just
the
us.
alderman could approve money in their own ward.
okay, is this gonna be paid back?
That's up to the council to decide.
That would be something I'd like to see part of the motion. to
I don't know how
have
you're
paid
going
back.
to do it when our funds are gonna tank here in about 2
I
months.
realize I'm going to, but we don't have to have a
You're
timeline.
not gonna
on
get
it.
that
Just-
money back.
Just to say, it could be open-ended, to say when it would come back, because otherwise, we're just gonna keep tapping into that piggy bank.
When the revenues start like we're supposed to, then I would say we take and put it right back to the wards, but right now,
Right, and I'm saying open-ended, I'm not saying
Well,
in
we-
6
no,
months.
this is
or
not,
whatever.
I don't wanna do this till doomsday, you know, for 3 or 4 years, but we know our revenues is going to go down, probably starting June 1st.
Right.
There's some of them already have now, but the majority of them, June and July, the revenues are gonna go down. And until we know where our revenues are, this is a backup to make payroll this year, you know. I voted against the summer help, because I knew that our regular revenue is not gonna be able to afford to do it.
I'm just saying that I'd like to see that this will be a
In
vote.
answering your question, it could be a motion we could make a year from now to pay it back. I
Okay.
don't think it really has to be in this motion now, but it's something that would be in the minutes, and if people think we got a lot of money left in the general fund and they wanna pay it back, we could make that motion then.
Okay, I'm just cautious about this becoming the piggy bank we keep dipping into.
That's not what I wanted to do with this. It was an emergency backup when there's no money in the bank to be able to pay the regular bills and pay, the employees. This was a backup plan.
I do think that's right, when revenues, when this is all said and done, and revenues jump back up, we do need to look back, keep a tally if for some reason we have to dip into it again, and then we'll make a motion to pay the wards back when the revenues come back up. 'Cause I don't think it should be just pull it out and leave it out.
Okay? The motion now is to take it out, so.
I have a
roll
question.
call.
Jackie has a question.
Pardon?
Jack had a question.
Who did?
Jack?
I do.
Oh, go ahead.
So when, currently I have March and April to take out a utility tax from the general bank account to the street maintenance bank account. It's about $56,000. So are we going to keep putting money out of the general fund into the 2% utility tax fund? Because then, you know, the general fund is gonna go down, the more the general fund goes down, the more we're going to borrow from that. Just saying.
I believe the way it's set up, it should go into the ward money, and then we'll just keep track of it. You know, not that we wanna borrow again from it, but we have to make payroll. I think it's something that y'all will vote on then. So there's no use start to put it in the general fund now, it should go to wards, and like, you know, we'll decide if we need to dip into it again, depending on revenues. Is that
That
what?
would be in my opinion. And it still goes to the wards so that we can keep track of the money.
All right, roll call.
Jim Olive,
Yes.
Driscoll Teddy,
Yes.
Megan Bryant,
Yes.
Larry Bud,
Yes,
Tom Burtle,
Yes.
Bernie Dorchenez,
Yes.
Kathy Driscoll.
Yes.
Lee Landzadi.
Yes.
Motion carries 8-0. Motion to approve the appointment of Matthew Yard to the Planning Commission.
So moved.
Motion by Alderman Driscoll,
Second.
second by Alderman Bryant. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Motion to approve the reappointment of the following board and commission members. John Blakeman to the Fire Pension Board, Kerry Ward, Greg Hager, Julio Monge, and Judy Rodden to the Cemetery Board of Managers, Jim Hahn to the Board of Fire and Police Commission, Pat Kretzer and Rich Shaw to the Board of Appeals, Terry Rainey and Don Farrimond to the Library Board, and again, Jim Hahn and Terry France to the Police Pension Board. Is a mistake. The police will choose Bill Nation, but the city chooses Mr. Hahn and Terry France to the Police Pension Board. Motion to approve. Motion by Alderman Bud, second by Alderman Olive. Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Discussion and/or motions pertaining to the stipends for business located in the BDD to be used for one-time rent, lease, or mortgage payments. Motion by Alderman Bud, second.
Second.
Alderman Bryant, questions or comments?
What exactly does this include?
This includes a one-time rent payment or mortgage payment to businesses that apply for the action, apply for it, and if the committee and the council approves it, for each separate business, we will give them up to $1,500 is what the motion that we got from, well, Steve Klein, that's the figure we came up with. When we discussed it at the BDD committee, everybody at the committee was in favor of this, but we would have final say over the applications on who would get it and who would.
Was there any discussion on the cap on the total amount?
Well, we estimated 115 possible business could possibly apply for it, so $1,500. That would be 72,500 would be the cap. Not all these businesses would apply, and so if you wanted to set a cap, I would set the cap maybe at the 150,000 would be sufficient. I don't think it will end up being more than maybe 100,000. It's all come out of the BDD committee. It might not even reach that.
And are businesses required to pay it back? Or
No.
is this a one-time pay,
That's a one-time pay, is what was discussed at the Business Development District meeting. Okay, any other comments?
Mr. Mayor, listening to what the comments were, should the motion be stated that it is not to exceed $1,500 maximum per stipend?
Right.
Something to a total stipend of not to exceed $150,000.
That's fine. And according to the statute, it's only available for 1 month's rent or mortgage payment. So even if your rent is, say, $500 or $600, you'd only be allowed the $600. If your mortgage or rent was more than that, it would be capped at $1,500. So, Alderman Driscoll?
There's quite a lot of funds available federally and locally as far as the state. Is there any way to require them to show that they have made an attempt to access these other funds before asking us? Can we say, look, I tried, I can't get any of the money, yeah, I'd like to do it. That'd be part of the application.
Steve Klein was supposed to send me the application that they've used in other communities. I've not received that as of 7 o'clock tonight, so I assume on that application there would be a spot for if you have applied for any others and if you did receive them. So we can make sure that's on the application.
So if we approve this before we see that application, and if it's not.
We still have to approve the application.
Okay,
You
all
know
right,
what I'm
that's fine.
saying? If say such and such business applies for $800, we'll read the application and we'll be able to approve that.
Okay.
Okay. So,
I think, Mr. Mayor, then with what I just heard, it should say not to exceed $1,500 maximum per approved stipend application.
Mhm.
all right. You're the lawyer, Rocky. So, all right.
And
Mr.
they
Bud.
will also have to return.
I think he broke up. I think, was he complimenting me there or something? I don't know.
Didn't happen, didn't happen, no.
They will also have to show a receipt showing that they made that payment.
Right.
We're not just gonna give them, when they tell us they'll have to show us the receipt where they paid that lease, rent, or mortgage. That's the only way they will give it.
Okay.
So it should say upon paid receipt of that expenditure.
Alderman Skoltedi.
I guess my biggest concern is, and we'll have to approve them by application anyway, but if these new laws that the governor's want to push through extends this out for another 150 days, these businesses that we could potentially pay for a month's rent or mortgage may go under anyway, so it may not be money spent, just money to extend the inevitable. You know, I personally would like to see what happens tomorrow, to see whether or not that passes to extend it into October before we look at doing this. I don't mind helping out and helping them pay the mortgage or rent, but if this gets extended out, more and more businesses are going to go under, and it's not going to be money well spent.
All right. Roll call.
Mr. Mayor, one thing.
All right.
If what Chris is talking about would happen, I think the city should, and Rocky would probably have an opinion on this, but I think the city should take a stand and go ahead and open back up regardless Because we don't, what the scenario that he just provided us, we don't want that to happen to the business in Taylorville. It's hard enough to get them here to start with, let alone let them go under because somebody's scared that something else is gonna happen. I mean, this has gone on long enough, I think. I think that with precautions, we could probably open the city back up. I don't know legally how that's gonna have to happen, but at some point, at the end of this month, we need to make a decision on that.
Okay. Roll call.
Driscoll Teddy,
No.
Megan Grant,
Yes.
Larry Bud,
Yes.
John Bertle,
Yes.
Ernie Dorchenez,
Yes.
Kathy Driscoll,
Yes.
Lee Landzadi,
Yes.
Jim Oliver.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-1. Okay. Discussion and/or motions related to the 2020 fireworks cancellation fees. In talking with the, well, let's get a motion first. Motion by
I'll make the motion.
Alderman Bud, second by Alderman Alden.
What's the motion?
Well, okay, well, let's discuss it first, you're right. In talking with the Optimist Club, we entered into agreement with them to pay $7,500 for the fireworks. We both agreed that it probably needs to be canceled. And right now, if we cancel now, we still have to pay $7,500, but it will be a credit until next year's fireworks display. So it'll be no loss of money. And so, but we have to pay the money this year. So that will be the motion, that we go ahead and pay the $7,500 that we've already discussed to the, I think, Pyrotech something, or to the Optimist Club with our contract with them, and it will be a credit for next year's fireworks.
So, I have a question. So then, that means that the Optimist isn't gonna ask us then for more money next year, like we're paid in advance for next year,
We're
right?
paid in advance
We're not
for
gonna,
next year.
we're not gonna give them any more?
No.
Okay, okay.
Okay?
Well, you know, why should we give them the money? I mean, why? I don't understand that.
Well, the thing is, they've asked for us to pay $7,500
Okay.
for the fireworks, which
Right.
costs
We
them,
committed to that.
cost those $20,000. So we're not gonna have the fireworks this year. The Optimist Club has to pay the fireworks company $20,000. Okay, now all the money that they pay them will be credited till next year's fireworks. If not, there's a cancellation fee of upwards of 25 to 50% was the original option. So I think this is the
So
best
they
way.
have to pay a penalty?
No.
I don't.
If we wouldn't pay it, yes, I'm sure there would be some type of penalty. I don't know what it is. Let me read the email from
But basically, we're going to be saving $7,500 when it's over. Because we'll be paying the $7,500 this year, but next year you won't have to pay the $7,500.
What if the price of the fireworks goes up? We're still
It's
locked
a
in.
That's
three-year
contracted,
contract.
it's a 3-year
Yeah,
contract.
Okay.
but if you didn't pay it now and you paid it next year, it's the same thing. To me, I don't,
Otherwise,
pay me now or pay me later, but why?
what I was told earlier was that if we don't pay this here, we're gonna have to pay a $5,000 penalty for them already ordering the
They are, not
fireworks.
us.
Huh?
That they are, not us, the Optimists.
Well,
I'll read
look
this,
at the agreement we have with them.
I'll read this email from Jim Adcock of the Optimist. Obtained new information today talking with Melrose Pyrotechnics. Due to the continued shutdown orders imposed by the state of Illinois and uncertainty of holding future large public gatherings, Melrose has proposed an addendum to the contractual agreement dated July 20th, 2019. In this proposed addendum, Melrose Pyrotechnics is waiving the 25% cancellation fee of $5,000 for this year's display and will instead require 50% of the proposed contract cost, $10,000 in Taylorville's case, to be paid by July 4th, 2020. So we have to pay it this year, $10,000, or we pay a cancellation fee of $5,000. This amount will be applied as a credit to the 2021 contracted display cost, which is $20,000. This eliminates the initial proposed fee that was being required of $5,000, which was not going to be applied to anything in the future. Last year, August 19th, the City Council approved a 3-year commitment of $7,500 to be paid towards the annual fireworks display. I would like the city to honor their agreed commitment to pay this $7,500 by July 4th to cancel this year's event, and the city would not have to pay the agreed upon amount of $7,500 in 2021. The city would then make the final agreed upon $7,500 payment in July of 2022. The club will obtain sponsors to take care of the balance needed of $2,500 by July 4th, 2020 as a prepayment of the sponsorship for the 2021 display.
I have a question. Didn't they have, and maybe I'm wrong because it's been a while ago, but didn't they have quite a little bank of money after last year's fireworks? Like, and I'm just thinking, like, you know, you're talking about spending freezes and all of this stuff and everything. So if they have the 10 grand to go ahead and pay them, why wouldn't we say, hey, you go ahead and pay the 10 grand because we're already broke. And then next year when it comes time, we'll go ahead and pay you next year. I mean, we're sitting here taking money out of board money to pay for summer help.
And just discussion, I don't think they have the lump of money to pay this. And they told me they would have a heck of a time raising the money, because they raise all their money from sponsors. So it'd be hard to raise money this year for an event that's not going to happen.
And I understand
so that's why they're requesting the city pay the $7,500.
I would just like to know that, because I when we looked at the budget, I know that they had, I mean, and maybe not, but I'd like to know how much they have towards that 10 grand.
Okay.
I mean, what if they have 9 grand? Okay, we'll float you $1 grand, and then next year we'll pick up, you know, the $7,400. I'm just saying, we're broke to be just paying things that don't have to be paid, in my opinion and my opinion only. I don't want to not honor what we agreed upon, the $7,500, but right now, being in the financial, as I'm sure Alderman Bud would agree, despair that we're in, why wouldn't we try to hold off if we can at least some part of it?
This is coming out of the hotel motel tax.
I understand that.
It's a different fund.
I know, and it can only be used for, what, 2 or 3 things we do in town? I get that, I'm just saying, it's perspective though, you know, not everybody in this town knows that there's a hotel motel tax, and I get that and everything, but I don't know, I don't know. I would just like to see how much they have first and hold off.
Mr. Barrett?
Yes. Mr. Bertle?
Just a quick comment, and I don't know if everybody knows this topic. In the past, for the 12 or 11 plus years I've been on the council, normally when they come and ask for that money, they have informed us in the past that they spend the entire year trying to get enough money to pay for the fireworks in the past. And that was the reason that they came to the city for help, is because they could no longer do that and do the other obligations as a club that they had normally done. And so they didn't ask the city because they didn't want to do the fireworks. They asked the city because they wasn't going to be able to afford to do them any longer, because it took all their money the entire year just for that one function. And they have other things that they would like to do with their club that they do for children and all those sorts of little things they do. So that's the excuse or the explanation they've given us in the past.
All right. So, roll call. I guess the motion is to pay the $7,500 this year, credited to next year's fireworks display.
Out of the hotel motel.
Out of the hotel motel. Have a motion? Motion by Alderman Skoltedi, second by Alderman Bud. Comments or discussion? Roll call.
Megan Bryant,
Yes.
Larry Bud,
Yes.
Tom Bertle,
Yes.
Ernie Dorchenez,
Yes.
Kathy Driscoll, yes. Lee Landzadi,
Yes.
Jim Olive,
Yes.
Chris Teddy,
Yes.
Motion carries 8-0. Discussion and/or motions related to the COVID-19 emergency order. Alderman Bryan? Told me you had a comment.
I do actually have a comment on this. I know that the county is reconvening tomorrow, and I'd like to wait and see what they have to say. In my opinion, I think the city needs to stay out of it. I don't think it's our right to tell people to open, not to open. I think that should be a personal choice that every business owner makes, just as I think it should be a personal choice if you choose to go into that establishment or if you choose to not to. I think it's kind of a moot point right now.
All right, Alderman Driscoll?
And I agree with you, like I said before, this is a freedom of choice. I think that if someone feels they want to open, they should. If they feel they're not ready to, then don't. If you feel you are comfortable going out to a store, then do. If you feel you need to still shelter in place, again, your choice, you're welcome to it. And having discussed this with many people, I realize, like you said, that the county, you want to see what the county's doing, but we didn't shut anybody down, so we don't have the authority to tell anyone, hear ye, Taylorville's open. We don't have that authority. So in that, I would like to say, if someone chooses to open their business despite the shutdown order, we don't have the manpower or the desire to investigate or shut anybody down. If a business feels that they can safely resume their operations and follow protocol that's already set forth by the IDPH, and that they are willing to solely assume any risks that doing so might incur, then the decision to make is theirs. But I would strongly suggest they seek advice from their attorney and or insurance companies before doing something like that. And I'd also further suggest and ask the community to support the decisions that people are making. If a business is open, don't harass them, let them make their choices. So that's my opinion on it. We didn't shut them down, we don't have the authority to open them up, but if someone so chooses to, we don't have the manpower or desire to investigate them. They just need to do it at their own risk.
Mr. Mayor?
All right. Rocky? Or
Yes.
was that you or Sean? Sean, do you have a question?
My comment was gonna be addressed to Rocky. I know that, what Kathy says makes perfect sense to me, but legally, since there is a mandate to stay at home and the businesses are supposed to be closed by the governor, do we have some kind of obligation, or can we be held responsible, even though we're trying to kind of tell the businesses they're on their own and they're responsible for whatever happens? Do we have some kind of legal obligation or legal responsibility if somebody was open? And I don't think anything's gonna happen personally, that's my personal opinion, but if something did, do we have some kind of obligation there?
That's a good question. Let me start with saying that I share the view with probably most of you, if not all of you, that we need to get our businesses back in operation and going forward. Having said that, however, here's from a legal standpoint, that's what you're asking me here.
Yes.
Is that we have a governor that, except for one judge in one county, that has ruled that the governor did not have the authority to do what he's doing presently. No other court, nor has the Supreme Court or any appellate court ruled that the governor has exceeded his power, even though he refuses to call in the legislature. So right now, that is the law of the land, the governor. The governor has also, we've seen in the news, has threatened that whatever federal money comes Illinois' way that's supposed to be earmarked for local communities, as I understand, he's threatening not to distribute that to if we support a going back to work contrary to his order. In addition to that, if we can't take an official position, in my opinion, you can adopt a resolution if you choose to ask the governor to rethink this, to put in some better, earlier opening, safe ways to open up business and get it back in operation. But other than that, I caution you to encourage any businesses as a city opinion to go forward at your own risk. We need to stay out of it. Why? Because if a business chooses to open up, doesn't follow the social distancing, the wearing the mask, and all the other things that we've heard day in and day out, what needs to be done if business will open, and someone catches the COVID-19 and dies, we're going to get sued. The city of Taylorville will be sued at a liability. If we come out and say, yes, you should be doing that, then we have a serious question whether or not our liability insurance would cover us. Our liability insurance does not cover us for intentional acts. And intentional acts could be construed as disobeying a valid court order, official order of the governor. The mayor and this council has no legal authority to overrule the governor's order at this present. I would urge you, though, to put forward some kind of resolution to ask the governor to rethink it. But I think from this point, you should not be encouraging it. so it doesn't fall back on your shoulders. While we all feel it should happen, but as a body, as a municipal government, you should not be sanctioning that behavior, that going back into business. That would be, if someone decides to disobey the governor's office, that's what happens. And we don't make any representations of whether or not we're going to enforce it or not enforce it. It just holds us out to liability. And as I understand it, that's the same kind of advice that's being given to the county board. But again, we lawyers only give you from the legal standpoint. You can decide to ignore me and not do it, but that's my opinion about what you should do. Any questions?
Lee, you got a question for Rocky?
No, I don't have a question, but I have a
Well, hold
comment.
on, maybe somebody have a question for
Actually, I
Rocky.
do have a question for Rocky.
Okay.
Rocky, as I understand it, the Joint Committee on Administrative Rules will be meeting either tomorrow,
Wednesday.
or it's Wednesday?
Yeah,
Okay, because on their website, it says we're meeting May 19th, that's tomorrow.
it's Wednesday,
So-
May 20th from the letter I received.
Okay, so they will be the ones that committee will determine whether or not the current rule is allowed. And I've been in contacting all of those people and getting others to contact them too. If they decide that that rule's not allowed, then, that regarding his emergency order, then it's, from what I understand, null and void. Or they can object to it and suspend it, is that correct, Rocky?
No, the county has no authority to override any governor's order.
Not the
A lot of
county.
counties are doing it. We've all read about it. Counties are deciding they're going to take an official stand and ignore it. We hear it across the whole nation. They're abutting other governors in other states. In fact, today I read where an Oregon court has said that the governor there didn't have the power to do that. So the county has no power.
No, I wasn't saying the county. I don't think you heard me correctly. I was talking about the Joint Committee on Administrative Rules. That's for the state of Illinois. JCAR.
Well, I haven't read about that, but the governor is doing his own thing. He hasn't called in the legislature, and we know that we have our local legislatures are asking that he call the legislature and have input from the representatives of all of us constituents as to how this should be handled going forward. The governor is choosing to ignore that right now. That's his own, whatever reason that he has to live with, but that's where it's at. And until and unless a court of law says that he no longer had that power after that first 30 days, we have to deal with it. And then if you disobey it, then you have to pay whatever consequences. So unfortunate from what I read is that consequence may be simply a denial of funds that should have been headed our way.
Lee, you got a comment?
Yeah, I've had people call me, and one of them sitting in the audience right now. In respect to he's a barber, and as I told him, we can't make that decision in the city. It has to be made by the Illinois Department of Registration that carries for the license. And if he gets caught, I told him that if you get caught cutting hair in his business, then he could actually get a fine, or he could be thrown in jail or lose his license. And I told him that the city does not entertain the fact to give the authority to go back to business, and that's exactly what I said.
Alderman Dorson, yes?
Thank you, Mayor. No, none of us have a crystal ball. We'd be predicting the right thing to do, but we don't. I've read an article, it came out of the Greece Courier. The headline says, immunologist tells Congress America faces the darkest winter in modern history unless our leaders act. And in this article, they're talking about this, the name of the man is Dr. Rick Bright. And it says here in Washington, I'm not going to read you the whole article, I'll just read a little bit of it. It says in Washington, Dr. Rick Bright, a top United States immunologist who says he lost his government job because he warned the Trump administration to prepare for the coronavirus pandemic. And so he's testifying to Congress. And at the end of this article, or in the middle of the article, it says, Bright's testimony follows a warning earlier in the week from Dr. Anthony Fauci, the government's top infectious disease expert, that rushing to lift the store closing and stay-at-home restrictions could turn back the clock and lead to more suffering and death and complicating efforts to get the economy rolling again. So here's a person that knows his stuff, He appeared before Congress to give testimony, and he's saying the thing to do is to keep on doing what we're doing. Otherwise, he's predicting some dire circumstances, some deaths, and I think that we should be more safe than sorry. So, in my opinion, and I don't think this council ought to do anything, but I think we ought to be, this country ought to be doing what it's doing right now, and hold the line. And I understand the economy; it's terrible, and I've got family members that are affected by it. I have 2 family members that have been affected by it. So, I think that what we're doing is the right thing.
I believe that go ahead, Mr. Ellis.
I was gonna say that everybody probably realizes the city is trying to get a grant for, what was it, rebuilding Illinois, I forget the exact title of it.
Right.
And doing that, Benton and Associates have been handling that, and they asked if we would go around to the businesses that are involved in East Main Cross, which I did, and asked them for a letter of support. Every business on that street was more than willing to give a letter of support, which was sent in with the document today, I believe, wasn't it, Bill?
Sure.
We discussed things like this while I was talking to them. They understand where we're at. Did they like it? But every one of them is willing to wait and see what happens. They're not, yeah, they'd like to open up tomorrow, just like everybody else was. But I thought it was very cordial of them to be willing to give us a letter of support for us to try to get state money to do the East Main Cross section. And then, you know, we're looking at probably in excess of $1 million. We're looking at another grant for probably $500,000. So in my opinion, I don't think that you want to upset the state. The state's the one that's got the money, although I don't know where they're getting it from, but they still got the money. So I think it would be very foolish of us to put our stamp on approval of opening anything up. I think that the governor is probably going to open some of it up earlier than, or at least I hope that. Don't know if it's true, but I think it would be very foolish to.
Well, I will just add my opinion. As most of you know, I've been in constant contact with Sheriff Kettlecamp, Police Chief Wheeler, State's Attorney Havera, the Health Board Head Denise Larson, IEMA Director Greg Nemo, and the conclusion that we've all came to is the city nor the county has no authority to open up or close a business. It all relies with the Health Board. Will we support the Health Board in anything they attempt to do? I believe we're obligated to help them. Will they help? Will they try to close businesses down? I don't know if they will or not. That's up to them. When I get calls from constituents, I always ask them, if I were you, you have the right to open up. You may face consequences. I would call the Health Board and I would call the state's attorney to see what their opinion are on you opening up. As you know, we've had some businesses open up. And like I said, I support those businesses. So that I think as a board, we need to maybe table this action till we find out more from the state, and I believe it's Wednesday.
What action?
Well, I don't think we need to make a proclamation or resolution or whatever. So I guess it will just die from a lack of a motion.
Well, this is just a discussion or motion.
Yeah.
We're just doing the discussion. There
All
really is no motion to be made. And if I may, Ernie, I understand what you're saying. There are a lot of different opinions though out there from many different experts. So no one's been able to come to a concise, absolute, this is what's going to happen, that no one knows. Like you said, we don't have a magic crystal ball to be able to see that. I don't want to endorse anything. I'm not saying to endorse anything. I'm not saying to open anything up. I'm not trying to give us any liability. I'm just saying, as you said, if people are going to do something, it's not with our permission, our saying go ahead and do it. Nothing like that.
All right. City attorney update.
Okay, folks, we got a number of things. I mean, you've been getting some communications from me. One, I sent you a letter that the mayor and I received from the Attorney General's office, because we had requested a legal opinion on the FOIA, the Application of Freedom of Information Act, during this COVID-19. We got a response. I shared it with all of you. Basically, they said you can't do anything. Hopefully that your documents will work with you because of the COVID-19 and lack of staff. The second thing to talk to you about is the class action lawsuit on that liquid aluminum sulfate that the city bought over the years. Julie was kind enough for office was to put, I think with Dave's help, the water department's help, to put all the numbers together. But when we got it, it was received and looked at it and forwarded on to the attorney for the class action, it was discovered those were all direct action purchases. What they define as direct action purchases in that case was long since resolved and closed out years ago, and the only one that's open now is the indirect purchases, which we have no records of. And so, as I hate to say this to you, but that's going to be a dead issue, and you can't go any further with that. The next is that you've gotten communications from me that all the documents have been signed off on the purchase of the grant from the USDA with the help of the police chief Wheeler. That police car squad, I assume, has been ordered now, and we got to make it $20,000 from that through his efforts. Appreciate that. The other thing is you've gotten a copy of Travis Parker has signed the demolition agreement that you guys approved. So it's in this circuit clerk's office, and we expect hopefully to get payment soon. The other thing is that Megan asked me to put together, or with Chief Wooler's input, a new police ordinance concerning the lieutenants and so forth. I shared with you my responsive comments. I think you'll probably discuss that at this Thursday's ordinance committee meeting, and also if you decide that you want to get rid of some personal property of the city that's no longer useful to the city, you can do that with the public auction. Let's see, with that being said, I think, the sanitary sewer project you got going on out there near Aldi's. We just recently got the title commitments for the art.
Oh, he froze.
He froze.
Pretty legit. What's that?
You're freezing.
Okay.
You're okay now. Just go back like 2 sentences.
All right, 2 sentences. Sanitary sewer, RP Lumber, James Burnett Trust. We've got the title work. It's been sent to Benton Associates, I think, today. Some documents are waiting for and they're going to take a look at it and direct us if we have what right-of-ways, what subordination agreements we might need if the other easements out there are in the way of our sanitary sewer line. And I believe with that, that's all I have, unless anyone has any questions. Questions?
All right.
Who's my report?
Thank you. Mayoral update. Thank you to the aldermen for approving our summer help along with the stimulus stipends to the businesses for their one-time rent, lease, or mortgage payment. Our number one priority this week will be take care of our cemetery to honor our veterans this Memorial Day. Without the municipal band who canceled their entire season this year, the VFW Riders and American Legion are planning some type of drive-through ceremony on Monday, May 25th at 10 a.m. Invite all the aldermen to it. Our lake department will be busy taking care of the lake for Memorial Day events also. We must remember to practice social distancing and be kind to one another as we get through this COVID-19 pandemic. I have been working with other mayors in our area, and we have delivered a letter to Governor Pritzker on our thoughts of moving our region to Phase 3 and then on to Phase 4. I have talked to many constituents, and we are all in favor of opening our city with the proper IDPH guidelines. Our main objective is to get our economy rolling and keep our most vulnerable citizens safe. There have been many constituents adversely affected, and I ask all aldermen and elected officials to contribute what they can to a special fund that I'm raising that is available to these constituents, such as hairstylists, barbers, waiters, waitresses, anyone else that may be adversely affected that cannot receive other type of funds like the stipend that we gave to businesses. I will contribute $1,000 and hope others will contribute also. Please practice social distancing and stay safe. Thank you very much. Committee reports. Discussions and/or motions to approve, adopt, and/or deny, and/or table, and/or amend, and/or refer to an appropriate committee in whole or in part the matters regarding the following subject matters discussed at the committee level. Emergency services. No motions came out of this committee meeting. Water and environmental. Mr. Bertle.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I hope everybody can hear me.
Yep.
First motion that came out of the committee meeting was a motion to recommend to the city council to authorize the direct mayor to sign payment service number 31 from Blocker Construction in the amount of $99,824.10 for work on the new water treatment plant and forward the request to the IEPA low interest loan program for disbursement and approved payment of same pending receipt of disbursement from the IEPA. This conditioned upon receipt of a signed mechanics lien waiver in the amount and recommendation by the project engineer that work has been satisfactorily performed. I'd like to make that form of motion, please.
Motion by Alderman Bertle.
Second.
Second by Alderman Bryant. Questions or comments? Roll call.
Larry Bud,
Yes.
Sean Bertle,
Yes.
Bernie
Yes.
Dorchenez, Kathy Driscoll.
Yes.
Lee Landzadi.
Yes.
Jim Olive.
Yes.
Driscoll Teddy.
Yes.
Megan Bryan.
Yes.
Motion carries 8-0.
Next motion was to recommend to the city council to pay Benton Associates $8,049.58 for work performed related to the construction of the new water treatment plant from March 1st of 2020 through April 20th, or April 25th of 2020. I'd like to make that in form of motion.
Motion by Alderman Bertle, second by Alderman Dorchenez. Questions or comments? Roll call.
Sean Bertle,
Yes.
Bernie
Yes.
Dorchenez, Kathy Driscoll.
Yes.
Lee Landzadi.
Yes.
Jim
Yes.
Olive, Driscoll Teddy.
Yes.
Megan Bryan.
Yes.
Larry Bud.
Yes.
Motion carries 8-0.
Next motion was to recommend to the city council to pay Clark Dietz in the amount of $10,110 for work performed related to the construction of the new water treatment plant from February 29th, 2020 through April 24th of 2020. I'd like to make that in form of motion.
Motion by Alderman Bertle, second by Alderman Landzadi. Questions or comments? Roll call.
Bernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Kathy Driscoll.
Yes.
Lee Landzadi.
Yes.
Jim Olive, Driscoll Teddy.
Yes.
Megan Bryan.
Yes.
Larry Bud.
Yes.
Sean Bertle.
Yes.
Motion carries 8-0.
Next motion was to recommend to the city council to accept the low bid from Midwest Meters for service line material at a total cost not to exceed $14,131. I'd like to make that form of motion.
Motion by Alderman Bertle, second by Alderman Olive. Questions or comments? Roll call.
Kathy Driscoll.
Yes.
Lee Landzadi.
Yes.
Jim
Yes.
Olive, Driscoll Teddy.
Yes.
Megan Bryan.
Yes.
Larry Bud.
Yes.
Sean Bertle.
Yes.
Bernie
Yes.
Dorchenez.
Motion carries 8-0.
Last motion was to recommend to the city council to allow Superintendent Spiegel to change the current application for fire hydrant meter rentals to reflect the following changes: increasing the current deposit for garden hose meter to $300 and assess a $100 fee if readings are not called in within 72 hours of the request. I'd like to make that in form of motion.
Motion by Alderman Bertle, second by Alderman Driscoll. Questions or comments? Roll call.
Lee Landzadi.
Yes.
Jim Olive.
Yes.
Driscoll Teddy.
Yes.
Megan Bryan.
Yes.
Larry Bud.
Yes.
Sean Bertle.
Yes.
Bernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Kathy Driscoll.
Yes.
Motion carries 8-0. Thank you, Alderman Bertle. Blakeman Airport, Alderman Dorchenez.
Thank you, Mayor. The only motion that came out of the meeting was a motion to recommend to the city council to approve the price of $275 for an additional camper and no security deposit on the lake lot lease addendum. I'd like to make that in the form of motion as a comment.
Motion by Alderman Dorchenez, second by Alderman Skoltedi. Comment, Alderman Dorchenez.
As you may recall, we couldn't agree, the council couldn't agree last time we met on these amounts for the additional camper. The committee discussed this at length, and my recommendation is to pass this motion. And if we can review it next year, and then if we want to change it, we can change it then. So I think that this will generate some revenue, and we'll see how this works out. So I recommend we pass it.
Alderman Skelton, you have a comment?
I agree with her.
Roll call.
Jim had a comment.
Comment, Alderman
I
All.
was in a discussion today, and I'm not against this, but just as to how are we going to police it? Because it came up, you can presently put a camper on a lake lot for 7 days, and then you have to remove it 14 days. In the event, if somebody puts it on, who's gonna keep track of this as to who puts a camper on a lake lot, who's putting on it for 7 days and leaves it for 6 months? I mean, I
Well,
don't.
they register the camper at the marina. So we do have lake patrol, so I think that's an easy job for him to go by. If they register it for 7 days, after the 7th day, you go by and you,
Well, and that's fine, I don't have a problem with that, as long as I know that we are doing that in some way, shape, or form.
Well,
You know,
I don't think that makes any difference about passing this. We'll have a year till next year to work out those things. I'm saying if you got additional campers, for example, you'd have a big sticker on there that says this is an additional camper. And we'll see, maybe we can't police it. We'll see what the problems we have. I don't think we're gonna have any problems. The superintendent knows what goes on out there,
Yeah.
and always does a good job, I think. So we've also got patrol. Those things, I think we'll find out if it works, whether it won't. But I think it's worth trying.
okay.
Alderman Driscoll.
I'd like to hear what Alderman Bryant has to say. She's opposed. I'd like to hear your thoughts.
I have been opposed for this whole double camper thing since the first time. I think it will not be enforced. I don't think you'll know if somebody pulls a camper on a lot back there or not. People aren't gonna register it. I think it's gonna end up being an epic fail, but I am willing to let you write it out and see.
And again, that was already passed, so right now we're passing the price of $275. We had the motion in the second, so roll call.
Jim Olive,
Yes.
Chris Teddy,
Yes.
Megan Bryant,
No,
Larry Bud,
No,
Sean Burdell,
Yes.
Ernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Kathy Driscoll.
Yes.
Lee Landzadi.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-2. Motion to approve and/or ratify payment of bills, $150,712.89. Motion by Alderman Bud, second Alderman Skaltedi. Comment, Alderman Bud.
electric, $7,175.26, fuel, $6,106.17, garbage, $8,701.20, computer tech, $5,933.31, Big R, Ace, Ron's and Urban, $1,427.99, Neal Tire, $2,201.95, Meyer, Austin Remodel, $2,029.50, City of Taylor Perpetual Care, 15% of lot sales, $4,046.25, Travelers for the general liability and umbrella, $39,223.25. Altor for $4,848.01. PS Printing, $8,311.49. US Postal, $1,000. Banavetter Engineering, $7,463.82. BDD, Benton and Associates, demo on East Main Cross, $2,800. Hotel Motel, Randy Mitchelson for the cabins, $24,800. Police Department, Gauls for uniforms, $1,227.99. Ray O'Haron, uniforms and equipment, $3,181.69. Alpha Omega, equipped 2 police cars, $4,400. Water Department, Dude Solutions, $1,645.97. Chemicals, $1,115.35. And all of these totaled $137,639.20. I would like to make the comment that some of the departments are not watching their spending. I went through the bills today, and some of them are not listening.
Well, we need to make sure the department head plus the chairman of that committee make sure they approve all expenditures from now on. Okay? So, roll call.
Chris Teddy,
Yes.
Megan Bryant,
yes.
Larry Bud.
Yes.
Sean Burdell,
Yes.
Bernie
Yes.
Dorchenez, Kathy Driscoll.
Yes.
Lee Landzadi.
Yes.
Jim Olive.
Yes.
Motion carries 8-0. First subparagraph G of 5 ILCS 120/2.06. This portion of the city council meeting is reserved for any person wishing to address the council on any relevant subject matters concerning the city. The Illinois Open Meeting Act 5 ILCS 120/1 mandates no action shall be taken on subject matters not listed on the agenda, but the council may direct staff to address the topic or refer the subject matter to a future council and/or committee meeting. If anyone wishes to address the council, please provide your name and address, limit your comments or presentation to 3 minutes, and avoid repetitious comments. Anyone out there would like to speak to the council? Alderman Bryant?
Okay, I have two different things I'd like to address here. First of all, I did get a phone call from a bar owner today, a little concerned about the split payments for the liquor licenses, just because if they don't get open back up till June, then the second payment is due at June 15th.
The first payment, the third of the payment is due June 1st, the second 2/3 is due July 1st.
Okay, they're concerned that they're not gonna have enough time to be open to come up with these fees. I know it's not on the agenda, we can't do anything about it, but I did tell her I would bring it up, so maybe that, we can talk about, if they don't open everything up as soon as we hope, that maybe that second payment we could stretch out just a little bit longer. And she did bring a decent point into that, property taxes on these establishments, if you own them, are also due at this time, so with not being open and all of that. Okay, can I go on my other?
Yeah. Please.
Rocky, I'm getting ready to pick on you, and I'm sorry.
No problem.
In an effort, though, the mayor's been asking us to try to find ways to cut back on money. And Rocky, I'm looking at the ordinance violations from March. I want you to explain to me on some of these cases. Some of these cases have gone to court over 20 times for balances less than $300. And I thought we had agreed that a lot of these were, that once, you had your first payer appear, that if they didn't pay, they were going to collections.
And I think we've been doing that, paying it, sending it to collection partners. However, what you've been seeing the last 3 months is that the court has required us to bump all these cases. That's why you see all those notices going out, because of COVID-19. Those that, most of those are probably going to come to credit collection partners.
Right, and I just, and like I said, I'm not trying to.
Just so you know, just an explanation, what the process is that the first time that we go there, you either get the judgment, or they want a bench trial. Rarely do they want a bench trial. But let's say they plead guilty, they get a payment order, and these people don't routinely pay on time. So then you come back and bring them back on a payment review. And if they don't pay or don't show up, then the judge has been pretty good about getting us to get a rule to show cause. And you'll see in some of the reporting that they'll issue what they call bench warrants, and they get arrested, put in jail, and they don't get out until they pay the fine. Yes, some of these you see, it costs more to what you collect. But I think you've got to also think about that if you start not enforcing these at all, the word's going to get out quickly, and we're not going to get anywhere with that. And we're trying to support the police force. If they know that they're never going to have to pay, then it does send a different message to them. So.
Well, and some of these aren't paying. I mean, some of these are from 2016 that you're still bringing into court. So my question is once they don't pay that first time, why aren't they referred to collections right then? Why are we bringing in for a rule to show cause if we know they don't have any assets, they don't have anything? We're just keep paying and paying and paying and paying to do alias summons and rule to show cause and all of this, and you know how expensive it is. So does the council. And in some cases we're 15, 20 times paid the amount that the fine even was. And then we're taking our officers off of the streets, and paying them to go serve these these summonses on ones that, like I said, that their balance is $280. They've been in court 16 times. over 4 years.
I don't know how to comment to that in the 16 times unless you can pinpoint one for me. I'm not
I can.
saying you're wrong. I'm not saying you're wrong about that. But there are
I
some
wasn't
of
gonna
those
get that.
that do take some time. What we've been trying to do is if they're over 6 months in arrears, I think you see in the report we've been shipping them off to the credit collections.
Yeah, and I'm not,
We'll take a look at it. I mean, but what you've seen this last 3 months has been ridiculous because we can't even get in the courtroom.
right, and I understand. I just think we really need to pay closer attention on how much we're spending to bring these people into court when they don't have any money to pay to begin with.
Well, sometimes, I hear what you're saying, but they usually come up with the money when they have to be put in jail. We found that to happen. So it's up to you. Somehow they come up with $200 when they're arrested, and they give up their, I'm gonna be careful what I say, but they find the money some way to get out of jail. But, you know, we'll take a look at it for you, Megan.
Point well taken, Megan.
Thank you.
I had 2 different people email me their stance on a couple of things, so I'll read these. One's rather lengthy, so bear with me. Dear Mayor Barry, the Alderman of the City of Taylorville, in regards to the question on should we take a stance and open the City of Taylorville, I would like to offer these thoughts. I have been practicing veterinary medicine in this community for 15 years. I own Countryside Veterinary Service in Taylorville, in addition to 2 other clinics in Nokomis and Hillsborough. But most of you most likely don't know about me is that my family operates a large swine farm which produces 125,000 pigs annually. To put this in perspective, that is more pigs than the entire combined population of the citizens of Christian, Montgomery, and Macoupin counties combined. I tell you to demonstrate that I have 15 years of experience in managing the health of a large population. Not only do I understand population medicine, but I'm also responsible for weighing all the financial risks and rewards of my recommendations and decisions. This experience gives me the unique ability to put the entire COVID challenge into perspective, weighing both the health and financial risk and rewards. In the beginning, sheltering in place was absolutely what needed to happen. We did not have the necessary PPE. We were unsure of how to medically manage the virus. We did not have the number of ventilators to fill the predicted needs, and we were unsure of the death rate and the populations at risk. However, today we now have the proper PPE. We understand how to treat the patients. We now know the death rate will be less than 1%, and we also know which population of society should continue to take the recommended precautions. The other interesting fact is the only 2 large groups of people tested were the sailors on board the Theodore Roosevelt Navy ship and the employees' Triumph Foods pork processing plant. In those 2 groups, they found that 60% and 90% of the individuals in those respective groups who tested positive were completely asymptomatic. The medical reasons to shelter in place no longer exist. I absolutely encourage those who are high risk to continue to use Walmart pickup, attend church services online, and not go to group gatherings. However, the rest of us need to understand that this virus is here to stay, and it is reasonable to start living life again at your own chosen risk level. We also need to consider the promise of a vaccine, and a cure will not happen in time to salvage our economy. From an economic perspective, we have to have something for the greater than 99% of us who are going to survive this virus to come back to. I have been declared an essential business from day one. This is not about me opening my business, but advocating for others who are enduring economic hardship. We are in a rural community with whose economic engine is driven by small business, agriculture, and healthcare. All 3 of these sectors, even the healthcare system of our small communities, are suffering. It is imperative that we don't wait too long. We are almost to the brink of some of these businesses not being able to survive much longer. At this point in time, the economic factors greatly outweigh the now known medical risks. We need to start taking action today to protect our local economy. We must have the courage to take a stand for what is right, even if in the beginning we are only causing a small splash in the political pond. We need to send a message to our governor that we expect him to govern within the confines of the Illinois Constitution. We will not be intimidated by his threats of lawsuits and withholding of funds. If the city council decides to defer the decision to the Public Health Department board, I believe that it should be noted that the two medical doctors serving on the board are spouses. I think any reasonable person would suggest that this should be corrected before they are allowed to make a decision of this magnitude. I believe that 2 votes from the same household does not give equal representation to the citizens of Christian County. I hope that as elected leaders of the community, you have the wisdom to make a decision using rational data and logic that is void of personal bias and emotion. Although I realize that there is no perfect answer, please vote into a manner that will help the most people and fight for our constitutional rights as Americans. God bless you, and thank you for stepping up to be the leaders of our community. Okay? Second letter, short. Thanks for the chance to address you and the council members tonight. I just paid the city $6,500 today for 2 establishments which have been closed for 63 days without income. When can I open? Jim Lindsay, the county seat in Beehive. So I just want to read those questions. Those both emailed me today, and that's why I read it. So.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Did you receive any emails during this meeting?
No, my secretary says no.
Okay.
All right? So, need a motion for adjournment?
I'll move.
Motion by Alderman Skoltedi, second by Alderman Bryant. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Meeting is adjourned.